If a nation's greatest fear isn't foreign invasion, but its own army raising its guns, then the United States seems like a miracle. Many regimes worldwide have collapsed in military coups, yet this country, possessing the world's strongest military, has never experienced a military coup in its 250-year history. Why is this? Is it because its system is too rigid, or because its soldiers are too loyal? Today, we'll discuss why the guns of the United States have always obeyed them. Looking globally, when we examine the histories of countries like Thailand, Myanmar, Pakistan, Sudan, Chile, and Argentina, or browse current news, we find countless countries that have witnessed similar scenes. Military tanks surround the presidential palace, generals appear on television screens announcing the suspension of the Constitution, and democratically elected governments are forced to relinquish power at gunpoint. This cruel and recurring reality of military coups has long been a part of world politics. And the United States, possessing the most advanced military power in human history, has its warplanes, warships, and soldiers deployed in every corner of the globe. Theoretically, if the US military wanted to, it could overthrow any democratically elected government within hours. But the reality is that in its nearly 250-year history, even after experiencing devastating internal conflicts like the Civil War, the United States has never had a successful military coup, not even a large-scale coup plot or major attempt. This country, which is often accused of interfering in the regime changes of other countries, has never had its own government stability threatened by its own military. What invisible barrier is protecting the American democratic system and preventing it from being destroyed by the military? To understand why the US military has never rebelled, you have to go all the way back to the Founding Fathers. Washington, Jefferson, Madison, these guys weren't just politicians. They were obsessed students of history. They had read about Julius Caesar using the Roman army to seize power. They studied how Oliver Cromwell overthrew Britain's government, and they walked away with one clear belief. So when they designed the US Constitution, they built anti-coup protections into the system itself. The president, an elected civilian, is the supreme commander of the military. If a general disobeys a lawful order, it's not disagreement. It's treason. Congress approves the military budget and can only fund it 2 years at a time, meaning the military survives only if elected officials agree to pay for it. The Second Amendment wasn't originally about personal gun rights. It was about avoiding a single, all-powerful federal army. The founders wanted armed citizens and state-controlled militias as a counterweight. Even though militias evolved into today's National Guard, the principle remains. Don't put all military power in one basket. Here's something most people outside the US don't realize. The US military isn't one unified machine. It's 6 separate branches that sometimes don't even like each other. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Space Force, Coast Guard. Each has different cultures, command structures, and priorities. Getting them to work together is hard, even in wartime, let alone coordinating an illegal coup. But the real obstacle? The National Guard. Every state has its own guard units. And who commands them in normal times? Not the president, the state governor. That means the US effectively has 50 separate mini-militaries, all loyalty-bound to different civilian leaders. If a small group inside the federal military ever tried anything, state governors could mobilize their guards and stop it almost immediately. And that's not counting another massive layer of protection. From local sheriffs to city police departments to federal agencies like the FBI and DHS. A coup requires centralization. The US is built on decentralization. It's almost impossible to seize the whole system at once. But legal structures aren't the whole story. There's something deeper, a cultural firewall inside the US military. In America, military officers are trained from day one to stay out of politics. West Point, Annapolis, the Air Force Academy, these schools drill one idea into every student. You don't serve a president. You don't serve a party. You serve the Constitution. That's not just a slogan. Every soldier swears an oath to defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. That one word, domestic, matters. It means if anyone, even someone in government, tries to violate the Constitution, the military's duty is to protect the system, not the individual. Add to that another key element. There is no single political ideology or social group dominating the ranks. Diversity prevents the formation of a unified political bloc inside the armed forces. Together, this creates a culture where a coup isn't just illegal. It's unthinkable. It's dishonorable. It's anti-American. This doesn't mean civilian and military leaders always get along. Far from it. There have been heated, dramatic conflicts in American history. Lincoln versus General McClellan during the Civil War. Truman firing General MacArthur during the Korean War. General McChrystal forced to resign after criticizing Obama. General Mark Milley's concerns at the end of the Trump presidency. But here's the important part. Every single one of these conflicts was resolved through constitutional processes. Not by tanks rolling up to the Capitol. That's the difference. Now here's the twist. While the US has strong anti-coup protections, the modern environment is changing. Republicans and Democrats increasingly see each other not as opponents, but as enemies. That tension seeps into the military too. Many Americans no longer trust elections, courts, or the media, creating a dangerous vacuum. The Pentagon has openly acknowledged the presence of extremist ideology among a small number of service members. Not a coup, but it revealed how vulnerable political loyalty and misinformation can make even veterans and active duty service members. These challenges don't mean a coup is coming, but they're a reminder that even a strong system isn't indestructible. Democracy isn't a one-time installation. It's a machine that needs maintenance. Last, why has the United States never had a military coup? Because the system was built from day one to prevent it. The Constitution put civilians firmly in charge. Military power is fragmented, decentralized, and hard to unify. The military culture values loyalty to the Constitution over loyalty to leaders. And every major civil-military conflict has been resolved within the law, not through force. These protections are real. They're strong, but they're not automatic. They depend on political stability, strong institutions, and a military that continues to see itself as a servant of democracy, not a competitor to it. The US has avoided military coups for nearly 250 years. But keeping that record intact will require the same vigilance, humility, and constitutional principles that built the nation in the first place.